well, we were going into Eclipse, so my plan was the same, basically. Just get units and play with them. He didn't seem like a very tricky Terran. It was like a weird scout and stuff, and a command center first, but it didn't feel... like he was, like... I don't know if tricky is the right word, but it felt like, well, I guess the fact that he didn't go starport at all with the command center first, that's like a certain type of player, and then there's a certain type of player that just makes a lot of units. So I felt pretty confident going into game 2. Eclipse, 2-player map. Alright, so I just kind of scout a little bit for proxies, go across the map, find a Marine, try to keep my SCV alive for a little bit. It looks like just an expansion. That was a good turnaround by him. I didn't catch that. It was really swift. I'm surprised his Marines came for that late of a push. So he goes into 3-fact, and I'm just going... This is like kind of my standard build right now. 2-factory vulture into Goliath. I feel really comfortable with it. So I just got in, and I got rid of his 2 Marines there. And then another vulture came down the ramp, and he pulled his SCV quickly, so I knew I couldn't do too much with the vultures, but I think this situation was fine for me. Picking off the Marines is very nice because I get longer scouting intel with the barracks. And then I just have to get home and kind of turtle up a little bit because he's going 3-fact, which I see here. And you can see I'm already up about 5 SCVs, 6 SCVs. This is one of the things, like, the trade-offs in Terran versus Terran. If you're going 3-factory vulture, you have to cut SCVs to hit the build correctly, to actually get enough vultures to have that map control. So he gets map control, but I can continually make SCVs and go into Goliaths and just have, like, less units, but higher SCV count. So, I mean, eventually what happens in this type of situation is you'll get up to an SCV count that's comfortable for 2 bases, and you'll cut SCV production for a little bit, and that's when they'll catch up. But earlier SCVs are better for economy. So you have to kind of make that work for you where you lost map control and you're trying to clear mines and stuff. It's just kind of an interesting back and forth that occurs in TBT. Alright, so he's laying his mines. I actually didn't realize he was like right outside of my vision during this. So I take a couple big mine hits there and lose 2 Goliaths. That's a little bit painful. I was not too happy with that because I was standing here and then I walked back for a second, then I walked back out and there was mines there. So it was like, oh, he's just out of my vision. So I'm just kind of pressuring the barracks. Now, this is the important part of the type of build I'm doing against the type of build that he's doing, right? Because he has all these mines. So you have to get the academy rather quickly for the scans. And I need to push mines back. Because, like, for instance, if he gets a strong position here or here with siege tank mine, you're basically dead in the water. You need to give yourself some breathing room, and so that's what I'm doing here. It would have been great to get the barracks, and I could have technically picked it off if I had sent all my Goliaths here to attack it. But I needed to make sure I was still covering my tanks. I don't know how many units he has up here. Like, if this whole army was here, and I had gone over here to kill it, he could have moved up and killed my tanks, and I lose the game. So I let the barracks go. Just put some damage on. He's up to 5-fact. Pretty solid. Very quick +1. That's actually a really quick +1. Wow. So yeah, I'm just kind of sieging up, right? Getting my 3rd command center. He builds his on location. Mine started a little bit early, so it's about even there. Get my barracks going again. I'm just trying to do constant production. You can see my SCV count is actually really, really higher here. I'm up 21 SCVs. Obviously, we're even in supply, which means he's up like 20 army supply. But this is what happens, right? Like, I give up that map control, and he has map control, and he has counter potential. But if I'm hitting that constant production, and I'm making sure that I'm keeping everything zoned back enough that I still have circulation, I like this type of build more nowadays than those vulture builds. It's a little bit tricky, but I like it. So he tries the little backstab. Luckily, my Goliaths come down, and I do end up losing some SCVs. See, this is actually... The thing is, this is such a common thing that happens, right? They have the speed vultures, and they don't scale super well. It's not that they're useless. Vultures, there's like a point in the game where they become semi-useless. They just pop so quickly against mass mech, like when you get like 160 supply. But this is a very normal thing, right? Like, he traded a bunch of SCV production to be able to have these vultures out in positions like this. But this was a good block by me overall. He didn't get quite enough. I'm still up SCVs. And I get to clear his vultures, so it's like there's less chance of a run by again. There's less chance of busts, because those are normally used in busts to take tank shots. And here I'm like, okay, so I know he has units in the center, and I have just a few units in the center here. I left these units like to help. Like, 2 siege tanks are good early game in a defensive stance to slow your opponent. And then these are here for anti-vulture. I leave the vulture because it'll one-shot mines. If he runs up with vultures and tries to lay mines everywhere, I can... a Goliath will 2-shot mines before they burrow, because when they burrow, you lose the tracking of them. And then they pop up, and you have, like, the tiniest amount of time to try to retarget them. So these are both very good mine killers to just kind of keep the tanks alive against vultures. But once he lost all those vultures, I decided to try to do a little push here. Which actually doesn't end up going all that well. I thought this was going to go well, because I knew my army was bigger and stronger. But I screwed up over here. Right? Like, let's take a look. So this is the size of a screen. So, like, when I'm microing this, and I'm, like, attacking, I'm, like, looking at the tanks. Well, you can't do that in the game. That's a replay thing. Yeah, it's some of the... Too many of my units went down here. If I had concentrated all of these units up here and pushed this way, I would have easily broken this and taken over his expansion. This would have been a game-winning move. Instead, this happens. I lose everything. God. Oh. It's brutal. Like, I haven't gone over these replays yet. You know, I played the games, and that was it. I normally don't do much on the weekends, just spend time with the family. So this is the first time I'm looking at these replays. I remember the games very clearly. And, like, for instance, I knew I would talk about this moment because I knew I screwed up this attack. But looking at it, like, zooming out and taking a look and be like, oh, it's actually game-winning if I go this way. And then I kind of bungle everything, right? And suddenly, after losing all that, I would call this game, like... I think it's slightly Thal favored after that. It's, I guess I still have more SCVs, so I'm fine, but he has a better army right now, right? Like, look, he's got 5, he has 9 tanks, and then, well, 10 tanks and 3 add-ons. I have 2 add-ons, and I have 4 tanks. Oh, 6 tanks. Okay. 6 tanks against 10, and he has an additional add-on, so it's like, yeah, I have a few more SCVs, but definitely his standing army is so much better than mine now. I lost so many units in that push. That's so painful to look at. It's a good learning moment, though. It's like, in moments like that, you have to execute perfectly to bust these lines. TVT can get really stressful to play in tournaments because you make one move like that, and it just turns the game so far around to go from, like, a position where you can win to a position where you're behind. Because you bust incorrectly one time. So here I'm just kind of laying out some mines. I did add more add-ons. So this is something I've kind of figured out recently about add-ons in TVT. So the general thought process is you can support 1 add-on per gas. But honestly, like, and, you know, this is... I feel like once you get your +2 going, basically, you can go for add-ons with 3 gas. Otherwise, you actually do start to bank a lot of gas on 3 geysers. Like, I don't know. It's something that I'm seeing, like, for instance, Shiny does that a decent amount, and I see a few people do it, but I don't know. I like it. I've started to do it a little bit, and I'm getting a lot of better results with it. Anyways, just kind of clearing these areas out. And my thought process here, because this is Eclipse, and it's a very small, tight map with lots of ramps and stuff, right? So there are different places you have to defend, right? There's this path, this path, this path, this path, and I guess technically this area. I generally ignore the top left. I think it's like a late game I like to battle over, but I don't like it there. So it's kind of like, okay, defend this ramp, defend this area. This is the most dangerous area because it's super wide, it's got multiple paths, and it cuts off 2 bases from your main and natural, right? And then obviously you have, you know, this main path, which is super wide as well, but it's got a ramp. So something I've learned from playing a lot of TVTs on Eclipse at this point is, like, if you just get a ton of siege tanks and just siege them up at these locations, then you basically secure yourself, like, 40% of the map is yours immediately. And then you can battle over the bases down here a little bit. And, like, this is for later on, I think, because it's hard to defend and easy to defend. It's got, like, its ups and downs. Anyways, I like to go quick battlecruiser on this map. And I actually wait. I'm going to see if I can find the moment where I do it, right? So I'm getting the second starport, or the second armory. And I'm actually already thinking about battlecruisers. Because you can go battlecruisers really quickly on this map. This is a battlecruiser map, 100%. Like, if you don't kill each other very quickly on the map, it becomes very, very battlecruiser dependent because it is so small. The battlecruisers have so much power and you can just Yamato everything. And, like, some of these bases, like, these bases are so hard to break without battlecruisers. You just have a line of tanks and turrets, they just won't break. So I'm thinking about going battlecruisers, and I had this moment where I thought to myself that I would go battlecruisers as soon as he scanned this area. So, here, let's... I think it happens relatively soon here. Okay, so he scans here. Sees that I'm sending SCVs. And there it is. Okay. He scans. Okay, he does see a second starport has started. But he scanned here, and he sees, like, armory going, and he sees a bunch of add-ons, a ton of factories. So this looks pretty normal. Like, maybe I'm thinking about going wraiths. Maybe I'm thinking about going dropships. But as soon as he scans here... Because normally in TVT, there's like a counter in your head of how quickly you need to scan to check for tech. Because you want to scan army, but occasionally you scan for tech. So I had that thought while I was playing that I should wait for the scan, because you know that it's coming, and then go BC. So I think you're going to see the add-on pretty quickly here. I start ship weapons. Have some additional starports going up. Not many scuffles going on. There's the physics lab. So yeah, I'm going up to that. And at this point, I'm just kind of like trying to hold some areas. I think you can go BC off 4 base. Use 4 bases. Like 4 gas is really good for BC. But I want this base. So this is me being a little bit greedy, having 3 tanks here. We have... He has a slightly bigger army. Notice I'm up on SCV count. And here I'm just moving around with my tanks. Most of the TVTs I lose on this map is because I can't reinforce an area quickly enough. Because I'll have, like, a bunch of tanks sieged here. And a bunch of tanks sieged here. And then they hit here and I have to unsiege and run. So here I'm trying to keep a mobile group. And I'm scanning around watching for busts. At this point in the game, I'm just kind of scanning and trying to figure out where his army is. So I can move these tanks to mirror that. See? And here we go. The matrix goes out. I siege up. I hold on. And now I have 5 base. Bunch of battle cruisers out. So yeah, this is where they really start to shine, right? That first moment where you show the BCs, you just start killing tanks everywhere. So yeah, that was it for the first match. I mean, it's really, again, I'm surprised that there is, I guess, a league pro. Someone messaged me and let me know that this is him. But yeah, that's really cool that he is S rank with low APM and he's a pro gamer in another game. So that's like hats off to that. Very impressive. Yeah, so round one, number one. You know, against that Terran player. Now let's go into my second round on day number one.